What's good, people? It's Chi Brown from Considered Culture, and today I want to speak a little bit about police shootings again. You know, that's kind of my briar patch. I know last time I was a little bit under the weather. It wasn't COVID-19, obviously. A Facebook friend of mine sent me this video. Well, he sent me a name of a guy who had been gunned down by police officers, shot and killed right in his doorway of his apartment. But here's a major twist. He was a white man. Now, from looking at the shoot, looking at the video several times over, it looks like a sort of a bad shoot, in my opinion. Now, perhaps it isn't. I don't know if justice would be served by locking this police officer up for this kind of mistake. However, it doesn't. It looks worse than a lot of the other instances of police violence that we're hearing about today that are unjust, that they're supposedly unjustified. But once information comes out, George Floyd, then people start to see that things aren't what they appeared to be from the beginning. This particular case seems to have come to our attention in July. And we're going to see when I go through this video that this has had very little coverage. The mainstream media has not touched it. It's basically only a local story. And once you watch the video and see the details, I think you'll be wondering, okay, how is this not mainstream media news? And the answer is simple. It's because the gentleman wasn't black. And once you start to understand that these particular cases happen so much more frequently to white males than they do to black males, if you look at the stats, I mean it's pretty obvious that what you have is a situation where the media is going after stories because they want the ratings. I mean, there's no other explanation to me in my mind other than they like the race narrative. Maybe it helps that narrative continue on, and you know, racism is basically a business at this point. When you can accuse someone of racism, that can mean getting them fired from a job. If you don't like that person, all you have to say is, if you don't like what they're saying, all you have to say is, that's racist. I mean, people have been called racist now for basically wearing a hat with the flag with the little blue stripe on it, the police support hat there. So I mean, it's just getting out of control, and I just would like to see this kind of stuff. So anyway, let's get into this video here. I want to show you guys what is going on with this particular case here.
Was it justified? That's the question many are asking tonight after Phoenix police released body camera video of a shooting in May, one that took the life of 40-year-old Ryan Whitaker. ABC 15's Cameron Polam sitting down with a use of force expert to get his perspective and a warning with the video you're about to see. Viewer discretion is advised.
Phoenix Police!
From door knock to gunshot, it took a matter of 16 seconds before Ryan Whitaker was on the ground. We are warning you, what happens next is tough to watch.
Before we see this, I just want you to notice it does say ABC there, but it says ABC Arizona. And after we look at a couple of these videos and things, I'm going to do a search in real time for this gentleman's name. And we can search for it on CNN's site. We can say, I haven't even done this, but I'm willing to bet money it's not on CNN. It's not going to be on MSNBC. It will not be anywhere besides these local channels. We may find one news outlet that may have covered it, but I think it's going to be a local story only. So you see the gentleman coming out of his apartment now. The police knocked. They had been called to the scene by someone in the upstairs apartment who thought that there was a domestic dispute going on, an argument between this gentleman and his girlfriend. Now, you look on his right, he does have a firearm. He did not know it was the police. Sorry.
Oh, put your hands.
Now, look at his. I'm gonna run it back just a little bit. Look at his hand there. See if I can catch it right at the right moment. Look at his left hand, and he's about to kneel down. It looks like he is in a surrendering position.
A call.
But the police officer shoots.
The 911 the night of May 21st would set off this chain reaction.
I have a domestic dispute going on, and I can tell that they're just at each other's throats down there.
Police.
I guess that's the male Karen. Everybody is on this Karen thing.
Responding to an Ahwatukee apartment complex off Desert Foothills Drive. The same man called 911 again prior to their arrival. When asked if the argument had become physical, this is his response.
It could be physical. I could say, yeah. Does that make anybody hurry up and get over here any faster?
When officers arrive, they knock and announce themselves. That's when Whitaker suddenly opens the door, a handgun behind his back.
They're doing everything that they were trained to do.
Surprise! They're doing everything that they were trained to do. Like, who is this guy here? He's a black police officer. This is just. I mean, I'm not laughing at the situation. I mean, at this guy being killed. I'm laughing at just the role reversals here. Now, there wasn't a black officer that would have taken the cake, but you know, just to see this other guy. He'll basically be saying that this case is a justified shooting.
A handgun behind his back.
They're doing everything that they were trained to do. They're doing what they're supposed to do.
Kevin Robinson spent 36 years with Phoenix PD, 13 as assistant police chief.
It is a tragedy, regardless of how you look at it.
He says it comes down to perceived threat. The gun in Whitaker's hand, the focus.
It's going to be a split second to raise that weapon. A split second.
In the video, officers shout for Whitaker to show his hands, and it appears Whitaker raises one in the air while he makes his way towards the ground. That's when the officer behind him opens fire. Whitaker's family and girlfriend, who was at the home at the time, deny the couple was fighting. Whitaker's sister spoke to us back in May.
They were not fighting, not arguing. They were playing a PlayStation game, which requires they were having fun, yelling and screaming, having fun. According to the incident report released Wednesday, Whitaker's girlfriend said they had a short argument that night over weekend plans, but called it nothing serious.
So there was some amount of an argument. If the girlfriend said that they argued over something, that was nothing serious. Were they arguing or not? We don't know. You know, family members. I've said this in other videos. You can't really ever trust family members to tell a good story. This is the same thing I said with the Ahmaud Arbery case, whose mother said he was out jogging. You know, I just don't believe her. Parents are going to do that for their kids. They want everybody to see their kids in a positive light, the way that they see them, and that's understandable. But in my opinion, looking at cases like this over the years, I never trust what the friends and family say, because they are the main ones who do the lying in these cases. So, not to say that these people are lying, but you know, the sisters obviously wasn't there. So, you know, I'm just like Ahmaud Arbery's mother wasn't there. So, in these cases, it's tragic that people get shot, as I've said in all of these cases, but the reality is these police are in tough predicaments. And I don't know that looking for them to go to prison is a good idea, because then you'll stop having police officers take that job. Should they be reprimanded and fired? That's a different story. Now I think that a police officer who is too quick to shoot for whatever reason, it may be justified to have that officer fired. But in terms of this particular case, I don't know, it's tough. One of the problems I have is the shooting officer's point of view is have that blur on the screen, so we don't really get to see his point of view or his perspective to get a grasp as to what his point of view was. And from the side that we are seeing, we don't see the right hand. So we don't know what he was doing with that gun hand. We only know what we see of the left hand, and the fact that he was kneeling down, which appears to be a retreat. So for that reason, and I think it was another white gentleman who got shot in a hallway. I think that was Daniel Shavers, if I'm not mistaken, in a hotel hallway, because he apparently was playing with a BB gun or something. And he laid there on the floor for, I think it was 45 minutes before he was eventually shot by police officers, and his hands were above his head, and he was laying flat on the floor and got shot. Again, another case that didn't really do any numbers in the mainstream news because there is no race component. Folks, these things seem to be pretty cut and dry in terms of how the media decides to present them to us. At some point, we have to hold the media accountable. People are talking about holding the police accountable, and I get it. Yeah, okay. Police have a tough job. The media, however, don't have that kind of a tough job. They don't. They don't have to fear for their lives. They don't feel for their safety in saying the stuff that they say. But ultimately, the lies that they tell are getting people killed. You know, getting black people fired up and upset about racist cops, when all the evidence suggests that race has nothing to do with it. And if it has anything to do with it, there's no evidence of it. That's getting people riled up and upset. And it's causing these riots, which are leading to death. It's causing politicians and people, this public outcry that has asked for police to pull out of black communities who need the police the most, which is causing spikes in violent crime in major cities across the country. This is not helping black people. It's not. So while people act as if these things are helpful to black people, the reality is they are detrimental to black people. Black people are the number one group they're the group that has violent crime as the number one. How should I phrase this? The victims of violent crimes, black people hold the number one spot. That was hard for me to get that one out. But black people hold the number one spot in terms of violent victims of violent crime. And it's only getting worse after you have Black Lives Matter protests. And again, I'll point to the study that Roland Fryer Jr. did, not the first study that everybody talks about, the second study. He did a second study after all these cases are made big in the media and people go out protesting and rioting. For every time we have big protests and big media coverage of one of these police shootings of a black person, obviously this one hasn't had big media coverage, and we'll go over that in a second. But when you have the big media coverage, it costs 178, 79-ish black lives every time. They say that 179 black people die because police are pulling out of their communities due to a public outcry that is saying we want less policing because police are racist. So there's a chain reaction where you have a police shooting of a black person. You have the media crying racism, racism, racism. It's a racist shooting. Look, everybody be alarmed. These things only happen like 9 times a year, 14 at the most, between 9 and 14 times a year. But we're going to act like this is, the main issue facing black America today. So the media drums up this outrage for views, clicks, money, ad revenue. People get mad, get angry, cry racism, 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 go out into the street and demand that the police stop going into black communities and policing so harshly. Criminals see the police flee, say, hey, we can go out here and start shooting each other and get away with it. And a lot of times they do. You know, I've talked about the clearance rates in big cities like Chicago, and they have like a 25% clearance rate, which means 75% of the shooters are getting away with it. People, this stuff is not helping black people. If black lives really matter to you, you got to take this stuff into consideration. Now, let's go take a look at the search for Ryan Whitaker. This gentleman here, Ryan Whitaker, right? So I plugged his name into the. I'm going to copy this real quick. I plugged his name into the search engine in YouTube. This is YouTube. So on YouTube, we can see that we have what? We have ABC 15. We have ABC 15. So all these are ABC 15, which is the Arizona news channel. 12 News is a local channel, of course. 12 News, again, that's another local Arizona channel. ABC 15 Arizona, 12 News. These are all the main ones. Then it goes to related searches. Okay, this is CBS News, but if you look at it, it's talking about Elijah McClain. So it's a whole different individual. So nothing there. So now I'm going to go to, this is just out of your view, but I'm going to the search here, and I'm going to put Ryan Whitaker's name in the search. And unfortunately, you can't see it there, but you'll see it now. Okay, so this is the Google search here, Ryan Whitaker. You got Arizona, you got YouTube, you got Channel 12 News, ABC 15, which again is local, even though it says ABC. It's not just ABC. It's ABC 15, which means it's local. Okay, so all these are local news on the first page. Now, you know, if you've done any search for anything, that mainstream media gets prime time first slot coverage on Google. So if you're going to search, that's where it's going to be. That first slot, CNN is almost always there. We don't have any mainstream media on the first page for this. So that leads me to believe that it didn't make CNN at all. So now I actually put CNN here earlier. We're gonna look. CNN investigates Ryan Tueller. That's not Ryan. That's not the Ryan Whitaker case. There just happens to be somebody named Whitaker here, because the Ryan comes here. It says Benjamin Ryan Teeter was at his home in Hampstead, North Carolina. Not familiar with that place, and I'm in North Carolina. But anyway, yeah. So that's not the same thing. No CNN coverage. It's not coming up here. Whitaker chose not to rescue from overseeing Mueller case. Okay, this is about the Mueller case. So this is not this gentleman. It's not Ryan Whitaker. So let's see if we can find something for MSNBC here. And I'd like to point out that this case happened 2 weeks ago. This isn't something that just happened. It's been, or at least the coverage happened 2 weeks ago. I don't even know when the shooting took place, but 2 weeks ago is when we got the coverage. That's because that's when the body camera footage came out. That was 2 weeks ago, right? Okay, MSNBC. Let's say must include MSNBC. I'm a professional Google searcher, so now this is the video we just saw. Okay, MSNBC has George Floyd up here. Kevin Ryan update. It's not Ryan Whitaker. Paul Ryan. Well, we know that's not Ryan Whitaker. No Ryan Whitaker. Zero. Hold on. Wait a minute. That's Reddit. Okay. Nothing from mainstream media, folks. Those are the two main ones. You know, I don't even see Fox up here. Nobody's covering this crap. So what this basically says to me is that the media just doesn't care unless there's a black person attached. Now, that goes against the narrative that Black Lives Matter was built upon, which is that people don't care about black people, but apparently they don't care about the white ones who are shot by police, because those get no coverage. The coverage only goes to the black shootings. This one is more controversial than the majority of the shootings we've seen this year. I mean, it is. Yeah, he had a gun in his hand, but it looked like he was retreating. And if that is the case, then this is one of the most controversial police shootings that we've seen on video. Yet there's no mainstream media coverage. Nobody's scratching their head like me. I'm sitting here like puzzled, but not really, because we know what it's about. Hold on, we're gonna see their protests. They're see if they have, riots and violence and people breaking windows and things like that. Let's see.
They shot my brother in cold blood and murdered him. Murdered him. So I'm here today to challenge Major Gallegos and the Phoenix Police Chief, Jerry Williams, to fire Jeff Cook and arrest him for murdering my brother.
Now, obviously, the police hadn't been arrested. Now, the running narrative from a lot of black people is, if this ever happened to white people, they'd be arrested right away. The police would be under the jail. Okay, well, here's the case. Are the police under the jail? Apparently not. Their families out here protesting in the middle of a pandemic with masks on. And those are not MAGA hats, by the way.
Arrest him for murdering my brother. And everybody here in my family who's here to support me, they only want one thing: justice for Ryan. Justice for Ryan. You want justice for Ryan. Justice.
Where's the Arizona chapter of Black Lives Matter in this case?
That is what we want, and that is what we are here for.
911 operator too.
They want the 911 operator too.
Accountable for your actions and hold people accountable. Thank you.
Look at this group. Look at the group, folks. What's the difference with this group and most groups we see? There's no Black Lives Matter signs. I don't see any Black Lives Matter. I don't think I even see any people of color. This lady on the left looks like she might be of color, but not really. I mean, it's Arizona, so a lot of people are just out in the sun all the time. You don't know. You never know. A lot of them have, some Native American blood in them, so you don't know. It doesn't matter. I don't know. We don't know. Maybe Ryan Whitaker is Native American. If that's the case, and that's interesting. See, Native Americans, and I've said this before in previous videos, Native Americans actually have the most, out of all the groups shot in America, Native Americans are the most disproportionate. The group that shot disproportionately, the most disproportionately of any group by police. I don't know why I'm struggling with my words today, my word choice, but they're basically disproportionately shot compared to all other groups. More than blacks, it is Native Americans who get shot by police officers. Per 1,000 people, it's pretty high. I don't have my graphic up here for that, and I'm not going to do all that. I was just going to do this quick video. I've been doing a lot of studying for something else I'm doing that's apart from this, so I may not be making videos as frequently. So if you're a supporter, I apologize. Take that how you will. This is become, but there's a lot of people posting a lot of great content. When I started this, there wasn't, and a lot of people think I just started like in 2008. I think my channel here says 2008, but I had a channel before that was started like in 2004, something like that, as well before YouTube had monetized the channels and people were making money. So there are a lot less people on YouTube at the time, but I was here. Same thing. I was a liberal there, but I still at that point, but I still had the same views on race. So I was doing much of the same videos, and maybe one day I'll post a throwback video up here so you guys can see how crazy I looked back then, talking. And I look kind of crazy today because I got this T-shirt under a jacket, but Nevertheless, it's interesting to see, and I hope that everybody is doing well. I know the world seems crazy right now. That's why I'm kind of pulling myself away from the news, because I just needed some time to regroup and spend time with family. My oldest son is going away to school this year, so it's just time for me to just kind of take it easy and regroup before I get into all this media stuff, because having to read all these articles and stuff is just troubling. And again, there's a lot of great people out there that you can watch, and they do a lot of great work. So if I'm not here, definitely tune into them and check their stuff out. And I guess that's it. I'm out until next thing that pulls me into this chair. I think I may want to do one other video on something else that I saw the other day, but we'll see. It's days old. Even though like this one was weeks old, but because nobody had heard of it, I thought it would be good to put it up here. And I want to thank the gentleman who sent it to me, David. I forgot his last name, but I appreciate you sending this to me and getting me motivated to break away from my studies and do this video. So until next time, folks, I'm out.
No more Yaza Baza.